Hey, it's New Thought Talk. I'm your host, the Reverend Steve Walling from Fresno, California, Spiritual Awareness Center. As I say each week, Fresno, the heart of the Central Valley of California, and the Central Valley is the heart of California. Got a lot of heart going on. It's a great day today. I hope you claimed it as your day today to be great before you even opened your eyes this morning, because truly, today is the divine's gift to each and every one of us. This day that we live and express our lives, we live and express our dreams, we live and express so much good when we choose to do that and when we claim that as our life experience. So last time we were together, I finished up doing this thing called life, as looking at life not from a spiritual understanding, although I think we covered some of that in the process, but looking at this thing called life as a physical reality, as an energy that energizes each and every one of us, but is when we break down our understanding of the all that is, it comes down to this one energy that we call life. And as I go back and I reread Troward and looking at life as he defines it in the Edinburgh lectures, and as we understand what life is today, it's an awesome thing to realize. We are this, expressing each and every one of us as this, and our purpose in this is to express at a higher, greater degree of livingness. And so over the next couple weeks, we're going to look at life a little bit more, but we're going to look at it through the understanding that Ernest Holmes, he wrote a little book called This Thing Called Life. It's in publication today as The Art of Life. It's the same book. We're gonna start with this today, and probably over the next 3, maybe 4 weeks, we'll work our way through this book. I wasn't sure I was going to do it until I went back and opened it up and I read the opening paragraphs, and I thought, what a great thing that we can look at now at this time in our understanding and in our spiritual growth, in our spiritual journey, to see, because this book was written in 1948. It was at the end of, put it in context, it was the end of World War II. A lot of bad stuff went on, culminating with the dropping of the atomic bomb, not once but twice, and the devastation that brought into the world, and what that ushered in the world as the so-called nuclear age, and all the stuff that went along with it. At the same time, through the healing and post-war process, there was a lot of things going on, a lot of production, a lot of good things were happening. And so Ernest wrote this book in 1948. I want to read you what he said when he opened it up. And I want you to think about what's going on today as I read this, because truly it applies as much today as it did when he wrote it. Might change a few words, but the context is still the same. He said, "The world is crying out for God, lost in the canyons of disillusionment where the trail runs out and stops against the granite barriers that wall us in. We cry, 'Why hast thou forsaken me?' When war devastates the land and tremblingly we stand at the mouth of hell, listening to the screamings of airplanes, the wails of the wounded, and the terror of headlines, we cry, 'Why hast thou forsaken me?'" Now you can translate that in today's world. We can talk about terrorism, we can talk about so much that's going on in the world, and it's generated, if you will, by hate. And hate is a thought, it is an emotion, but hate ultimately is something that's owned by individuals, that is shared and brought forth through those individuals into the world. And it makes no difference what part of the world we're talking about, because truly, if you believe that there is a oneness within which we're all connected, as those that bring good into the world bring good, so those that bring hate in the world bring hate, and it is shared worldwide. Today, in this day, in this time, I've shared in the past that I believe that it was Ernest's understanding and belief that what we teach here in religious science and New Thought was a way, a method, a philosophy, if you will, to bring in and ring in a new world consciousness, an understanding of something far greater than the world had experienced heretofore, and yet we haven't seen it. It's kind of been in the background. You get wisps of it, but it's buried by so many other things. So today and over the next couple of weeks, we're going to look at this thing called life through the eyes of Ernest Holmes in the book that he wrote, but also through the context of our expression in this day, not just in the as we did in the past several weeks, where we're talking about the physical expression of life, but spiritually, what life is as a spiritual concept. Jesus told the woman at the well that, God is spirit, and we must worship God, Him, the Father, in spirit. And so we're going to look at life as an understanding of spirit. How we use the word life or principle or first cause or God or any of the other names that we give for the causative factor behind all that is all that is. We're not talking about something tangible, physical that we can put our fingers on, that we can touch. And yet we are talking about something that on some level, each and every one of us, when we take the time and we begin to develop our spiritual life, our spiritual journey, we can experience. It's incredibly personal and intimate, and yet it's something that can be shared through all of humanity, all of the world. It's a powerful understanding. So he goes on to say here, he says, the answer to our need lies not in God's willingness, but in our own will to accept, in our ability through faith to recognize the divine presence as the great reality of life. The power of God within us is like a sleeping giant which must be awakened that it may spring into action. It lies within us. Understanding that as we live our life and we seek to live our life at a greater and higher degree of livingness, it's not just our personal life experience and expression that we're affecting. We are affecting, obviously, those that are near and dear to us, family, friends, co-workers, whatever, but we're also affecting the greater world. And sometimes we lose that because it's just so hard to realize that one single individual has that kind of power, if you will, to affect on a global basis the spiritualness, the acceptance of a greater truth, and the demonstration of that truth into the life experience. But we are charged with that, we are gifted with that, and it's time that we awaken to that. I'm going to go back to where he says that the answer to our need lies not in God's willingness, but in our will to accept. In today's world, through many different channels, many different reasons, the acceptance of spirituality as the basis for this thing called life has it's come under stress, if you will. There was a movement that started in the 18th century that progressed into the 19th century. There was an attack on the Judeo-Christian understanding of God in the Western world for many different reasons. And this was an attack that was accepted on many levels. People began to, I don't know if I'd say that they doubted God in the sense that in order to doubt God, you have to first believe in God, but they doubted their personal relationship or the need to have a personal relationship. And for many reasons, it was a hard sell, if you will. Particularly in the West, given what happened in the 60s, in the United States in particular, there was kind of a turning away from, because there was in the society at that time, there was a kind of an upswell of belief that one, God wasn't necessary, and two, it was those people that had that belief that were the cause of the ills that we suffer, and a lot of finger pointing and various sundry things. But underlying through all this and throughout history, there has been kind of a background hum of people that had a different understanding, a different acceptance of spiritualness and belief that arose in the beginning of the 20th century with the birth of New Thought, the real birth, although it actually started at the end of the 19th century. But in the 20th century, there was this birth and it's kind of flown up and down, and I have a book called it's entitled The History of New Thought, and in it the figures that the author gave, maybe I'll bring that book next week as we go through the lesson. The figures that he shares with us about the people that participated in New Thought, staggering numbers to me in today's time. But we've kind of fallen by the wayside. People that I've talked to that are connected to the various New Thought organizations, they talk about the diminishment in the population that they see in their churches and centers. And for me, that's tragic, but it's not tragic in the sense of looking at people saying, well, you've lost your way. It's tragic to me because I look at people and I say, your potential is so much greater, that life has the potential to avail itself to you at a level that you haven't the slightest clue, and if you did, you would find it almost impossible to deny yourself from participating. But we have, on many different levels. We've moved away. There are discussions within New Thought, and I may touch on this a little bit more as we go on about some of the evolution, if you will, within the organized parts of it. And people have tended to kind of let their consciousness wander away from the basic premise. If you go back and you get an understanding of Troward, and I've said this many times, Troward is a worthy read again and again and again, and even again and again and again, if it takes that long to really wrap your mind around what it was he was saying. Ernest Holmes, most all of his writings, if not all of his writings, his brother Fenwick Holmes, individuals that were Cady, for example, H. Emily Cady. It's a little more difficult to go back to Emma Curtis Hopkins, but if you want to tackle it, go for it. But as we look at the individuals that really sought to discover, lay out, and teach the foundations, Neville is another one, of this power that's available to each and every one of us, and the road to put this into practice. We don't see those individuals so much out there in the world today, but their writings are still here. We can avail ourselves of them. We can go back to them. We can learn from them, and we can begin to put them into practice. And I think maybe that's kind of where we need to be, rather than depending on organizations to tell us what it is that we need to know, understand, and to incorporate in our lives as our understanding. So we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to move forward from this, and I'll see you then.
Ghost Golf is Fresno's most spooktacular family entertainment center. It's frightening how much fun you'll have on our 18-hole indoor haunted graveyard course. Skeletons welcome you, but watch out. All sorts of creatures may come to life. Ghost Golf is perfect for scary good parties, so book yours today. You'll get free plays at the Mummy Shooting Gallery, arcades, and air hockey. Check out our party and weekday specials online and like us on Facebook. Come play at family-friendly Ghost Golf. Good times will haunt you.
At McDermott Counseling, you will receive the highest level of care and a welcoming, safe space in which to discuss your most personal issues. Our therapists go above and beyond for you. Call 559-280-5756 or visit McDermottCounseling.com to find a caring therapist who best suits your needs.
Diane Ainsworth's books of poetry and scriptures are available at CondeoPress.com and as ebooks at Amazon.com. Diane hopes the words in her books will convey the unconditional love Jesus has for you. Learn more at God'sInspirationsBlog.wordpress.com and get a copy of Diane's books today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Miss G. I offer fun and affordable promotion and advertisement on my talk show. It is called Fresno Vibes. We talk, we play awesome music. I also feature a bunch of different bartenders from different places. I like to have restaurants. I like to have any event, any kind of fun stuff. Contact me at rmgmissg@gmail.com and we will have so much fun, and we will promote your business, promote your event right here on my show. So contact me. We'll have fun. Thank you.
In a world where Friday nights have become synonymous with going out to get wasted, consider not doing that, and instead save your money and tune in to the Hey Slingshot Show Friday nights at 7 p.m. Or go out anyway and pull out your phone and watch on Facebook or YouTube. You can even watch right now. It won't be live, but there is a significant backlog of shows that you can watch right now. Hey Slingshot, Friday nights at 7 on CentralValleyTalk.com.
Hey, I'm Chris DeVold. Tune in every Friday night on CentralValleyTalk.com when I bring you Sex, Drugs, Chris DeVold, where I'll give you 3 guesses on what we talk about. And I also vow to bring you 1 live local music act a week. So tune in every week, because you never know what kind of music you're going to hear right here on CentralValleyTalk.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I am your host, Reverend Steve Walling, from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in Fresno, California. Talking about this thing called life, or the art of life, written by Dr. Ernest Holmes. In the first segment, I talked about the effect that we can have on the world as individuals. I want to share with you just a little bit. This was published in the Epoch Times, originally published in 215. And the headline reads, "Evidence group consciousness may have physical effect on the world." The opening paragraph says, "Studies at Princeton University have suggested that 2 or more minds that hold the same thought or emotions simultaneously may have a tangible effect on physical surroundings. The power of thought is not just ideological, it manifests physically. Cohesion between individuals ramps up that power." Back when Troward was writing and giving his lectures, in the early days when Holmes was writing his books, and they were talking about the power of thought, that was something that anecdotally they saw the effects. There wasn't hard science, if you will, to back up what they were talking about. But there was enough evidence, demonstrations, manifestations on an ongoing basis by people that put this into practice, that led to the realization that there was something going on, there was a power that we could tap into. What was that power? They began to look at the spiritual history behind, some of the things that they were looking at. There was studies in the Judeo-Christian world and other parts of the world. People began to realize that out of many of the teachers that, spiritual teachers that were around and available through history, that the teachings of Jesus in the New Testament were a great aggregation, if you will, of spiritual truths that opened many doors when put into practice, but not necessarily put into practice as was taught dogmatically, but put into practice as was taught in the words that he actually spoke. Holmes often used to say there's a power and a presence for good that's available to each and every one of us as we avail ourselves to it. Jesus said it's done unto us as we believe. He said that what he did, we could do and more. He said that we could find the Father within ourselves. The kingdom of heaven was to be found within. These were radical thoughts back in the day, and Beginning at the 20th century, they were still pretty radical. Today, they're probably still pretty radical. But the point being that this thing called life, this spiritual thing called life, we can call it God, first cause, principle, or whatever. There is a power. This power exists. There are many individuals that are willing to step up and deny the realization of a spiritual beingness, a principle, a consciousness, cause, whatever. And they utilize various, arguments to promote their beliefs. However, there's no one yet that has come up with a very good idea behind what is. How did we get here, if you will? Now, you can choose to believe that there's an ultimate cause, or you can choose to believe, well, whatever it is you choose to believe. But if there's an ultimate cause, then there is a process in the evolvement, the evolution, as we see it unfolded. Now, got to understand something. Oftentimes, we being humanity, we tend to look at things very human-centrically. That, when we talk about one life, oftentimes people think that we're just talking about Earth, this dirt orb, and the life that's on it. In truth, when we talk about one life, we're talking about in all, throughout all, that there's no place, no space, if you will, where the divine, where God is not. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on with that we're going to get to probably over this next year. I'm not going to get into it today. But when we have that understanding that there is a power and a presence for good that's available to us as we open ourselves up. What do we mean when we open ourselves up? We're talking about opening up our belief, opening up our faith, opening up our acceptance, opening up our willingness to be receptive of the good that God is in our life. And Holmes says, the greatest satisfaction in using the law of life is in the consciousness that such a power is available. Not in the actual using, but the mere understanding that it's available. Because it's like, once we understand it's available, no matter where we are in life, it's available to us. You see, we can run, but we can't hide because we are the divine expressing as us. It's an individualized aspect. There are philosophers that they talk about the idea of God as being the cause, if you will, but not the potential. Okay, and this gets into some rather deep philosophical arguments that are not worth going into right now. But Holmes put it this way, which I think is probably the most simple way to put it, was that God is the unchangeable in which all change takes place. Because in him, we live, we move, we have our beingness. We're not apart from, we're not separate from. That we are in the midst, if you will, of the divine. So wherever we're at, it's there. We say that in so many ways oftentimes in our treatment, in our talks, in our Sunday lessons and stuff. But think about it as an embodied understanding, what that means to you. And it's important that we take it at that level, because ultimately, when we talk about a philosophy of faith, a way of life, we're not talking about happy camp. Although happiness is an important part of it, and I'm kind of flippant when I say happy camp, because oftentimes people get wrapped up in the idea of the glitz, if you will, and not the foundation, the bottom line. You are an expression of the divine as you. What does that mean for you? Where are you at in life? Understanding that we are all created equal, but we're not all born equally, is an important understanding, in that some people are born in pretty tough situations, and I'll just leave it at that. Some people are born with many life deficits right from the moment of physical birth, but by the mere fact that they are all, and we are all created equal, that means that wherever we're at, whatever our deficits are, that the divine principle still lives within us, exists within us. And it's not limited. It's awaiting us, awaiting our discovery of it, and awaiting our putting it into demonstration in our life. And part of what Holmes taught, I believe, part of what I teach, is that our mission, if you will, our journey is not to go around and create converts, so that more people can be new thought people or religious science people or beautiful people or anything like that. Our purpose is to live life, live it at an ever greater and higher degree, to let our life shine, to be that example, and by bringing that light in the world, and being that example, we raise others up. People see what we do. They see how we live life. They see how we experience life. And through our individual life, they are touched, if you will. They are influenced, and they seek to create a greater life for themselves. It's not a process that is like blanketing the globe, if you will, with an advertising campaign that's going to reach everybody, turn them on, and lift them up. But it is, as I said, I read to you this, Princeton University. I'll go back where I can see this again, read the headlines. Evidence group consciousness may have a physical effect on the world. What group are we talking about? Well, you know what group I'm talking about. Right now, I'm talking about that group of individuals that realize that the divine is everywhere present, that we can put it into practice in our life, that in so doing that we can demonstrate and create a greater and higher, better life for ourselves with more livingness, and in so doing that, we express God at greater and higher degrees, or whatever you want to call it. We express our life at greater and higher degrees. We experience more happiness, more good. We bring more good in the world, but we do it in a way that we take nothing from anybody else. The world is full of people today that want to tell you how you need to live, what you need to take, what you need to give up. And it runs the gamut. There's no, no matter where you're at, the perspective is going to be the same. It's just the labels are going to be a little different, but it's still the same. It's time that we don't worry about the labels of other people, that it's time that we create a greater, better, more abundant life within ourselves, and then see it expressed in our life. Does it mean we may want to turn off the news? If you happen to be a news junkie, yeah, that could be a little difficult. If you happen to be someone that's hooked on hating, that can be really tough. But where do you want to go with that? What does hate do? I mean, we know for a fact that there are physical, forget new thought, forget religious science, raw science, physiology, psychology tells us that hate creates massive bad things to our body, massive bad things to our psyche, and thus massive bad things in our day-to-day life experience. Why would anybody want to buy into that? Why would you want to experience a life filled with hate when you have a door that's open to you anytime you want to live a different kind of life? There was a book that was written and bracelets that were sold, and it may still be out there. A Complaint-Free World, I think, was the title of the book, and you can order the bracelets still probably. Living life without complaints is a good way to start, if you can't do anything else. Maybe consider giving up gossip. Moving on to fear, worry, and doubt might be a little more difficult, but as you begin to set these patterns up within yourself, you can do it. You can do it because there is a partnership between you and the divine. But you got to want to do it. Not want to as in someone that says they want to lose a couple of pounds and go on a diet and then buy that piece of pie, cake, or whatever, and I'll get my diet. You got to want it. You got to really want it. You tell yourself within yourself, this is what I want. You claim, as I open each and every show, claim your day before you open your eyes. It's a gift. It's a gift to you, and you can take this gift and create with it You can take this gift and just not pay any attention to it. You can take this gift and create destruction with it. All thought is creative. Are we creating constructively in a positive way? Or are we creative constructively in a negative way? It's not up to things outside of us. It's not up to where we're at in our spiritual, whether we are part of some organization thinking about it, whether we're spiritual or whatever. It's not about that. It's about the choice that we make within ourselves. You can go into where are you at tribally? One of the biggest issues that face us as a society today is we're so wrapped up in tribes. And our tribe is that group that we self-identify with that keeps us separate from the greater whole, as a unity, as a oneness. If you're in New Thought, you can't talk about unity, oneness, and still define yourself by your tribe. Now, that doesn't mean that you diminish that beautiful being that you are, but it means that you realize that we're all part of the family of humanity. Again, my fallback on this is always, we love the divine, we love God with all that we are, and understanding that because God is everywhere present, that includes ourselves. Knowing that you are important, knowing that you are valuable, knowing that you are the divine expressed as you, and therefore, there used to be a saying years ago, God doesn't make junk. God makes. We choose whether it's junk or not. But the gift to us is we can change that choice anytime we want. And the other part of the teaching was we love our neighbors as we love ourselves. And there was no exception to that. People get tied up in their, however they define their tribe, whether it be, through geography, by country, by state, by, be it societally, be it by, self-identify. It doesn't make any difference. You are a divine creation. You are a perfection. You are created in the image and the likeness. Get over your prejudice, whoever you are. Get over your judgments. Open yourself up to a lovingness within yourself and love yourself. Forget what the world is telling you, because the world doesn't know you, but you know you. Own that and then use that and move from there. We're going to take our next break. I'll see you on the other side. Hi, I'm the host of New Thought Talk, Reverend Steve Walling. And I want to take a moment today and give you an opportunity to support our ministry, support our show. You can do that through a PayPal payment. You send the payment through PayPal to the email address of Madera, MADERASAC @gmail.com. If you don't have a PayPal account, you can go down below the link and you can find where you can enter a debit or credit card. I want to thank those that have supported us and those that will continue to support us. You have a great day. Bye.
With Organic Pastures Raw Milk, you're getting a product that has been meticulously managed from grass to glass. From our pastures to our dairy, creamery, and distribution, we work hard to produce a product that is safe and clean for you.
Got lactose intolerance or dairy allergies? Discover delicious raw milk and discover dairy the way it's supposed to be. We provide tours and would love to see you. Come visit the cows, watch the milking, the cheese being made, and learn all about raw milk. We're just 20 miles south and west of Fresno, California. Call to schedule a tour at 559-846-9732.
The Saga of Bridget and Amanda by Carol Love Forbes brings to life the struggles of historical women in early America. Find the Saga of Bridget and Amanda on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and order your copy today.
You enter this door with expired tags. Beyond is another dimension, a dimension of regulations, a dimension of long waits. You have reached the registration zone. What looks like an ordinary shop is actually Mitchell Smog, located in the heart of the Tower District, a few minutes from the DMV. Mitchell Smog offers your vehicle a star-certified smog inspection. So remember Mitchell Smog when you need to pass through the registration zone.
Christy Majors is your local real estate connection. With a solid, hardworking team, traditional listings, short sales, probate listings, and foreclosures are treated in a personal and caring way and close in a timely fashion. Since 2009, Team Majors has closed more than $75 million worth of homes all over California. Reliable and trustworthy, Christy and her team will go the extra mile for every client, whether selling or buying a home. So give Team Majors a call at 559-464-5606 or visit teammajors.com.
If your home floods, who will you call? When your house springs a leak, it's time to call Clean Master Emergency Flood Service at 559-213-9430. Clean Master will be there in 60 minutes to start fixing your home. And Clean Master bills your insurance directly, saving you the hassle because you've got enough to worry about. Clean Master also offers carpet and upholstery cleaning, carpet repair, pet odor removal, and more. Remember, Clean Master Emergency Flood Service, 559-213-9430, and visit cleanmasterflood.com.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm your host, Reverend Steve Walling, from the Spiritual Awareness Center located in Fresno, California. I have a friend. His name's Harvey Bishop, and you can find him under Harvey Bishop on Facebook. And Harv does a blog. His blog last week is based on something that has been near and dear to his heart, and he continued it this week, and we're having some dialogues on it. I support Harv so much in what it is that he's doing right now. Part of it, I believe, is that we have, the New Thought community has gotten caught up with our own enlightenment, if you will, and I'm not using that term necessarily in a positive way. But one of the points that Harv makes in his blog is, and he's talking about how the idea of creating a world that works for everyone, which is has been kind of a mission statement, if you will, within the community. And I've been talking to Harv about this because when I first heard this, and I'm not part of any organized organization, so I guess I'm kind of free to speak, but yet I don't mean to detract from any organization either, but I'm going to share a perspective. And my perspective is we can't create a world that works for everyone. That wasn't the intention for each and every one of us to begin with. We were created as individuals, to live individually, to express individually in all that we do in life. And that's an amazing thing. And once we understand that there is a power and a presence for good that's available to us, and that we can, by partnering, if you will, in consciousness, realizing the truth of who we are and walking that spiritual journey with our creative force, if you will, with that principle, what we can call God or life, that available to us in potential is the things that we need in order to live our life at that level in those ways. Which means that the way you choose to live and the way I choose to live and someone else, they may be drastic difference in that. And, I may not like what it is that you like. It doesn't mean that what you like is wrong. It just means that it's not my cup of tea, and likewise. I have good friends that are ministers that, they look at me with a raised eyebrow, if you will, but we're good friends nonetheless. The world that works for them is not the same world that works for me, but yet we can live positively, abundantly in that world when we begin to learn how to live positively and abundantly in that world as ourself through our faith belief, creating our own life experience our own life expression, but not taking anything from anyone else. And we can do that. There's a power and a presence for good in the universe. It's available to each and every one of us. We've got to stop looking out at the world trying to tell what the world has got to do in order for everybody to be happy, because it's not going to happen. And yet, that road to happiness, harmony, beauty, and peace exists within each and every one of us. But it's different. As we learn the truth of who we are, as we learn to put into practice our understanding, even if our way of doing that may be a little bit differently than the way that someone else does, we can all learn, and we can all, through our faith and belief, put into practice in our life a greater understanding of a greater good. You know, I mentioned earlier in the show, about people that have no belief, or have a belief in no creative force or cause behind everything. More power to them. And I don't mean that sarcastically. Go for it. Find your truth. Work your truth. Create your own happiness. Now, my belief about how that's going to play out and the powers behind your ability to do that are my beliefs, and I don't need to share them with you, and you don't need to know them. What you need to do is express your life in your way, in a positive way, in a life-affirming way that takes nothing from anybody else and allows you to live at a greater, higher degree of livingness. Whether it be sailing, mountain climbing, whether it be writing, whether it be research, whether it be, doing what I'm doing, it doesn't make any difference. I mean, imagine the awesome individuality that exists right now on the face of the earth, that if everybody put it into practice in a level of consciousness that supported their own path, their own journey, how that would affect the whole rest of the world. The things that we look at in the world today that we see that are limiting, that are of a negative nature, would cease to exist. There are some people that live their life and they feed on negativity. It's not that they're evil people, because I don't believe in evil as a reality per se, but there are people that are broke. There are people that are blind. And sometimes when we come across those individuals, we can still love them. We just put up boundaries, however we need to do that, so that society as a whole, humanity as a whole, can really experience at a greater, higher degree of livingness this thing we call life. Holmes puts it this way. He says, there is a universal wholeness seeking to express through everything. Through everything. We are calling it simply life. The religionists call it God. The philosopher calls it reality. Life is definite energy coupled with limitless creative imagination. You could supplement that with consciousness, if you will. It is the invisible essence and the substance of every visible form. Doesn't leave much to the imagination, does it? Its nature is goodness, truth, wisdom, and beauty, as well as energy and imagination. And how is it that Holmes can make this statement that it is truth, beauty? We can go on to say love, harmony, peace, and many other descriptors that you may have read in your spiritual studies. How is it that we can make that statement and know, in fact, that we are on the ball, that we're dead on target when we make those statements? It's very simple. Life is infinite. The divine is infinite. If it is limiting in any way, it couldn't be infinite. Love is an energy that expands itself. Evil or negativity or hate is an energy that by its very nature limits its experience, because at some point it takes out everything if it's allowed to continue to express. So we can know that, beauty, harmony, peace, love. Those are attributes of the divine, which means that as an individual expressing that divine within our own life, those attributes are there, readily available to each of us when we choose, like the prodigal, to turn away from, the muck and the mire that we have allowed our individual lives to get into and turn to our Father. In our Father's homes are many mansions. There's room for all of us. It doesn't have to be the same for you, me, and everybody else. When we give up trying to tell the world, the rest of the world, truth be told, people kind of tend to be a little bit on the busybody side. But we do that because we have an inner fear that, maybe we're not doing it right. But if everybody does it the way that we do, then we can feel comfortable in our own. We got to give that up, because when we begin to live in peace and love and harmony, we also live in a foundational consciousness of confidence, that confidence of goodness, of wholeness. Going back here, there is a universal wholeness seeking to express through everything, each and every one of us. Wholeness, not limitedness, not partialness, but wholeness. And what does that portend for each of us when we stop twiddling our thumbs, when we stop seeking to tell everybody else how they have to experience life, and seek to begin to captain how we want to experience our life in a nurturing way for us in our life experience, things begin to change. The universe responds. We're going to take our last break. I'll see you when we come back.
Visit the beautiful city of Exeter and visit ExeterChamber.com. The Chamber's mission is to promote, support, and enable Exeter to prosper, creating a strong local economy, promoting community, and providing networking opportunities. Follow the Chamber on Facebook and Twitter, or give the Chamber a call at 559-592-2919.
Hi everyone, I am Sparkle Sujin with the Everything Sparkle Show. Tune in every Thursday live at 4 p.m. You will see people that are motivational, inspirational, inspiring, and of course, entertaining. We have a great time. We learn things about how big celebrities are inspiring big names here in Fresno. Hugh Hefner is the reason we have Fresno Magazine, and Gnarly Charlie got his start because Johnny Carson told him to. So, tune in, you'll learn something new, and have a good time.
Are you thinking of selling your home? Since 2004, the Souza Group, brokered by eXp Realty, has specialized in premier property listings and sales located in the Clovis Unified and North Fresno markets. The Souza Group will do their best to exceed your expectations. Visit ClovisUnifiedHomes.com. Pour yourself a glass of Crybaby wine available at the market and Sam's Italian Deli. And remember to ask for Crybaby wine at your favorite restaurant. Doctor in Sukasa allows you to connect with your doctor when you need a quick treatment. Avoid a trip to a medical clinic or emergency room and connect by video with your doctor from your home, work, or anywhere. Just go to drinsukasa.com on your phone, tablet, or computer. Dr. in Sukasa provides quality care that is convenient, bilingual, and affordable, so you are never left without access to health care. Visit drinsukasa.com today.
Welcome back to New Thought Talk. I'm having a good time today. I hope you are. We are going through, this is our first show on this thing called Life, or The Art of Life, written by Ernest Holmes. Moving ahead, I want to read this to you because this is good stuff. He says, science of mind is merely one of the tools we use in giving expression to the life principle. Our greatest satisfaction lies not in the fact that we can use this principle, but in the realization that such power exists and that we are one with it, which is a repetition of what I read a little bit earlier. When we know that this infiniteness in all of its goodness is available to us. When we know, and we know that as our beingness, where can we be that we're at a loss, if you will? No matter what shows up in our life, we have a bigger God. It's always available. It's always a go-to. What we need to understand, and if you're new to New Thought, and even if you're not, is that this is not a sometime thing. It is an ongoing process. I think it's still published on the cover of the paperback version of the Science of Mind textbook that we call it. That this is a philosophy of faith, a way of life. Well, it is, but as a way of life, it's a way that we put into practice every day. We start our day, we end our day, and all the in between, we are a part and we express it. He says here, if we carry a light into a darkened room, the darkness is dissipated without effort on our part. So it is in the experience of one who has a deep consciousness of life. We so often seek to create that light in a darkened room by things of external nature, telling someone else what they've got to do to lighten the room up, various things that limit other people, that limit life, that limit our world. The truth is that light exists within us. We don't have to go anywhere other than that. And that light will light up a room, and it cannot be extinguished. We own it. It is us expressing as us. He says, the divine spirit is not mythical, abstract. It's not a being living somewhere above the earth. God is a divine presence, revealing itself to everyone, anyone who believes. Where God is recognized, there is life. Where the presence of God is realized, there is action. Where the goodness of God is acknowledged, there is peace. Available to each and every one of us. This thing called life, this thing called God, this thing that expresses as us, through us, with every breath that we take. And yet it does so in a way that allows us to be the personal factor, to be the compass, if you will, to be the director. It always allows us. As we realize that, as we realize the reality of what that means to each and every one of us, we can reevaluate how we interact with the world. When we no longer see the world, whatever that is responsible for our inner peace, our inner harmony, our inner experience of happiness. When we no longer put that out there, we empower ourselves to experience and express that. That doesn't mean that life, as life that we live, isn't going to bring things to us, at us, that are going to challenge us. If we don't run away in consciousness, if we plant our stake, if you will, our flag, on our understanding, our faith, and our belief, yeah, there's some pretty devastating things that life can bring at us. There are some major tragedies that will catch us off guard and can tend to knock the breath out of us, our feet out from underneath us. But you know what? We don't have to stay there. And truth be told, there are some people that they realize right from the get that no matter what life brings at them, they still have a bigger God. They are never alone. That Christian Larson wrote in a little book called What is Truth, that in everything, seek to find the good. And many years ago when I first read that, I thought, and I can think of a lot of things where, I'm sorry, you're just not going to find any kind of good in there at all, right? Well, not so much. It doesn't mean we're still not going to have tragedy. We will. It doesn't mean that we still may not have sadness. We may. But it does mean that there's still good to be found somehow, some way. And as we shift our consciousness just to that point of understanding, no matter what life brings at us, we're in pretty good shape, you know. And it's an awesome place to be. This thing called life. Wake up in the morning, greet the day. This is life. See things unfold in your life. Know that the good in your life is a demonstration of God expressing through you as you. This thing called life. Know that sometimes when you're experiencing things that, you know, if you would have your way, so to speak, you wouldn't be experiencing them. It's still this thing called life. We create constructively by the mere fact that we are thinking beings, conscious beings. But constructively can be either constructively in a positive way or constructively in something that is limiting. Choose how you want to be constructive. Choose how you want life to respond to you. It awaits you. It awaits your every thought, so to say. If these are concepts that are maybe new to you, think about them. No pun intended. If these are things that you have an understanding of, but yet still in your day-to-day life experience you're struggling with, evaluate where you're at in your life. Claim a greater good. It's going to take a little faith maybe, but you can do it. You can move forward. You are an awesome being, whoever you are. And it makes no difference when I say wherever you are. That can be where you're at physically, where you can be at psychologically or emotionally or societally or wherever else, okay? You were created in the image and the likeness. Awesome. Own it. This thing called life. It's been around a long time. It's going to be around a lot longer. You're worried about creating a greater world, a better world? Create a better you. The world will respond, believe it or not. You know, we get so taken with wanting to charge out in the world to change the world. Change yourself for the better. Change yourself for the better in goodness, not in bias or bigotry, not in judgment, but in goodness. That's your purpose. In doing so, you will express light at a greater and higher degree. And as you express life at a greater and higher degree, the world around you will change. And that's a fact. And so it is, so to speak, for today. They're going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed today. We're going to probably move forward and cover a little bit more than just one chapter at a time. But today I wanted to kind of spend some time on this. You know, when I reread that opening paragraph, when Holmes talks about the world and all the things that were going on in the world at that time, putting it in the context, and realizing that, in a sense, in consciousness, we're not too far off that mark today. He had a much greater hope, I think, and a much greater belief in the power of this philosophy, this thing that we call science of mind and spirit, religious science, new thought, in all its different incarnations. If you happen to be someone of a faith that maybe isn't, and you have reservations, believe in your faith, believe in whatever it is that you believe in, but consider opening your heart and mind up to an idea that just by the mere fact that you can accept greater good for yourself in your heart and mind and life, that you can be a participant in creating a greater world. And you don't need to go out and tell people how to do it. And that's a fact. So I'm going to close that out for this week, and know as you go through the week that the light of God surrounds you, the love of God enfolds you, the power of God protects you, the presence of God watches over you, wherever you are. God is there. All is well. Have a great week, and I'll see you when we come back.